You did this on purpose. That post is an illegal structure, and I'm suing you for every dollar damage to my vehicle. My attorney will be contacting you before the end of the day. This is a hazard, a completely illegal hazard. And you placed it here knowing exactly what would happen. I will have it removed, and I will take everything. HOA President Eugenia Marlowe made this declaration to the homeowner at 9 Hain Ridge Court, claiming his concrete mailbox installation was an unauthorized permanent structure under Section 5.8 of the Silverbrook Subdivision Charter. She insisted that a $7,000 fine had already been placed against his property deed with immediate effect, and that the Williamson County Code Enforcement Office had been notified and would be conducting an inspection within the week. She said all of this just 4 days after her SUV suffered $14,000 in front-end damage when it slammed into the same post at the same speed she had previously used to destroy his earlier mailboxes, without consequence. What she didn't realize was that the homeowner was a licensed contractor who had constructed the post to meet every USPS and county regulation. He also had recorded footage of all 4 previous destructions stored across 3 separate backup systems. On top of that, his attorney had already reviewed the recordings and described the criminal mischief charges she was facing as the kind of case that could end careers and drain bank accounts at the same time. Forrest Holden, a 44-year-old licensed general contractor with nearly 2 decades of experience building and renovating residential properties across North Texas, had lived at 9 Hain Ridge Court in the Silverbrook subdivision of McKenna for just under 2 years. Silverbrook sat in Collin County, a quiet middle-class neighborhood filled with well-kept brick homes, wide streets, and residents who took pride in their properties while generally minding their own business. Forrest knew exactly what he was buying when he purchased a house, a solid property in a decent area with good school ratings and manageable HOA fees. During his first summer there, he renovated the back patio, maintained his lawn meticulously, and never received a legitimate complaint from anyone on the street. One Tuesday evening in late September, as he returned home from a job site, he noticed his mailbox lying on the ground. The post had been snapped cleanly at the base, and the mailbox itself rested in the grass near the edge of his property. He examined the damage, glanced at the street, and assumed someone had accidentally clipped it while pulling out of a driveway too wide. He reset the post, packed the base, and went inside. 2 weeks later, it happened again. The same clean break, the same position in the grass, and again no note or apology from whoever had done it. This time, after fixing it, he ordered a driveway camera that same afternoon. The camera went live 4 days later, and within a week, it captured Eugenia Marlowe, 58 years old, an HOA president for the past 9 years, driving her black Cadillac Escalade directly into his mailbox post. She didn't drift into it or accidentally clip it. She turned her steering wheel toward it with clear intent, knocking it down in a single pass before continuing down the street without slowing. Forrest watched the footage twice. Then he called his attorney and began sketching plans for something she wouldn't be able to knock down. Before we go further, what city or country are you watching from? Drop it in the comments. We love seeing where everyone is tuning in from. And if you believe no HOA president has the right to destroy a homeowner's property and then fine them for replacing it, hit that like and subscribe button and join us here on HOA Unhinged. The next morning, Forrest filed a police report with the McKenna Police Department, submitting the footage and noting that this was the second confirmed destruction of his mailbox. He also stated that he believed the same vehicle was responsible for the first incident, which hadn't been captured on camera. The responding officer reviewed the footage, confirmed the deliberate nature of the impact, and opened a criminal mischief case under Texas Penal Code 28.03. Forrest was given a report number and told to expect follow-up within the week, but the follow-up never came. Instead, he received a call from the investigating officer explaining that the registered owner of the Escalade had denied any involvement. Without additional corroborating evidence, the case would remain open but inactive. When Forrest asked if the footage wasn't sufficient, the officer explained that the license plate hadn't been clearly captured and that the owner's denial required more proof before moving forward. Forrest thanked him, ended the call, and repositioned his camera that same evening to capture the full width of the street, including license plates of passing vehicles. 3 weeks later, Eugenia ran over his mailbox for the third time, this time The camera clearly captured the front license plate of the Escalade in broad daylight as she deliberately turned into the post. Forrest filed a second police report the next morning with the new footage. Now there was no ambiguity. The officer contacted him within 2 days, confirming that Eugenia had been identified and that the case was under review for formal charges. And once again, nothing happened. Through his attorney, Forrest later learned that Eugenia had personally contacted the police department after being approached and had spoken to a supervisor she knew through a neighborhood civic organization. The case stalled again. Forrest replaced his mailbox for the third time, added a second camera from a different angle, and waited. 10 days later, Eugenia destroyed it for the fourth time. Both cameras captured everything: her front plate, side profile, the full impact, and even her face clearly visible through the driver's window as she steered into the post. This time, Forrest didn't file another police report. Instead, he sent all the footage directly to his attorney. He had already made up his mind. The police department wasn't going to solve this. He would handle it himself, legally and permanently, without relying on anyone else. That weekend, he designed a mailbox post that no Cadillac Escalade in Texas would ever be able to knock down. By Monday morning, he had his materials list ready. By Saturday, the hole was dug, the rebar installed, and the concrete poured. Forrest built the post the way someone with nearly 2 decades of construction experience builds something meant to last. He dug 3 feet deep, installed a reinforced rebar cage, and used a high-strength concrete mix he relied on for years in commercial foundation work. At the center, he set a 4-inch steel pipe, later covered with a cedar sleeve so that, from the outside, it looked like a standard wooden mailbox post. The mailbox itself followed every regulation: standard size, standard height, and approved color. Every detail complied with USPS guidelines and HOA bylaws. From the street, it looked identical to the previous post Eugenia had destroyed. But it wasn't. Forrest finished the installation on a Sunday afternoon, packed the ground around it, and went inside. Both cameras were running. He didn't tell anyone what he had done. He just waited. On Wednesday morning, at her usual time, Eugenia drove down Hain Ridge Court. The cameras captured her turning in from the main entrance at 8:34 a.m. As she approached Forrest's property, she slowed slightly, the subtle deceleration of someone preparing to act, then turned her Escalade directly into the post with the same speed and angle she had used before. This time, the post didn't move, not even a fraction of an inch. The Escalade wasn't so lucky. The front bumper crumpled inward, the hood buckled, and the wheel well collapsed back toward the firewall. The airbag deployed instantly. The vehicle came to a stop in the middle of the street, steam rising from the engine as both cameras recorded everything in clear daylight. That evening, Forrest watched the footage from his kitchen and called his attorney before contacting anyone else. The post stood perfectly straight in his yard, untouched. Eugenia filed a complaint with the HOA board that same week after her vehicle was towed, claiming the mailbox post was an unauthorized hazardous structure and demanding its removal. The board reviewed the complaint and requested the relevant bylaw. There wasn't one. The Silverbrook Charter contained no restrictions on mailbox materials, construction methods, or foundation depth. The board found no basis for her claim and informed her in writing that her complaint could not be upheld. The first time in 9 years, she had been told no, so she escalated. Eugenia filed a civil lawsuit seeking $14,000 in damages, arguing that the mailbox post with a road has responsible for the destruction of her vehicle. In court, her attorney presented the argument with complete seriousness. Forrest's attorney responded with 4 separate video recordings showing her deliberately destroying his mailbox on 4 occasions, including the final incident that caused the damage she was now trying to recover. The judge watched all 4 videos without interruption. The case was dismissed before the first recess. Afterward, Forrest's attorney submitted the full footage directly to the Collin County District Attorney's office, bypassing the local police department entirely. With 4 clear incidents captured on camera, including license plate identification, the case was straightforward. Eugenia was charged with criminal mischief under Texas law, facing fines and a permanent mark on her record. Within days, the HOA board removed her as president and hired an independent management company to audit every enforcement action she had taken during her 9-year tenure. On a quiet Friday morning, Forrest stood in his yard with a cup of coffee, checking his mail. The post remained exactly as he had built it, straight, solid, and completely unmoved, just like him. If this story proves anything, it's that sometimes the best response to someone who keeps knocking you down is to build something they simply cannot destroy. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. And if you've got an HOA story the neighborhood never heard, drop it in the comments. We're always listening. See you in the next one on HOA Unhinged.